community of very frustrated individuals. These are climate scientists worldwide who feel that their science is under attack now, and particularly so in Canada, not only from an element of our society that is not interested in hearing about science, but at times we get a sense our Canadian government is not interested in science. We've heard in the last couple of weeks the federal government has shut down the ozone network, which is an international contribution that Canada makes to ozone monitoring worldwide. They've also shut down, or in the process of selling, if anyone goes on eBay they might be able to purchase it, Canada's polar ice core records. These are the records that were collected over many years using millions of dollars of taxpayers' money. Kyoto, we've all heard about, is a piece of policy that Canada, being the only nation worldwide, has decided to renege against its commitments. Japan, 5% below 1990 levels already. Germany and the UK, more than 25% below 1990 levels. Canada, 17% above 1990 levels. So it is shame. It's shame on Canada. I'm a very, very proud Canadian. I've always been a proud Canadian. I'm a proud Victorian. I was born here. But I'm also an embarrassed Canadian. I'm embarrassed because internationally, when I go abroad, less so now than I used to, my colleagues ask what's going on in Canada, and I just shrug my shoulders. But this is why it's so wonderful here today to see so many people actually stand up and say, you know, enough is enough. We need to have some federal leaderships. We have leadership at the city council level, at the provincial level, but it's absolutely void at the federal level. So thanks for everyone for coming.
The question then is not whether or not there's going to be a transition. It's inevitable. It's a question of when, before or after we trigger runaway global warming. So the ideal post-carbon society would be one based on renewable energy, energy conservation, better city planning to make more livable cities, as well as conservation of endangered forest ecosystems. And it's a better society. It's one that has to happen, and it's one that will happen over time. And it's going to be through us pushing right now.
The last time the oceans had a major surge of heating of this kind, it killed off so much marine activity that the oceans did not recover for 30 million years. This is the kind of game we're playing with in this casual cooking. We're doing our best in BC to make sure there's no passage, Enbridge pipeline across to the Pacific to get it to China. That's our part of it. And they're doing their part to make sure there's no pipeline in America called Keystone. And Obama alone has the ability to make that decision. Now, just 2 days ago, Harper said, why would anyone want to oppose the pipeline? It's a wonderful thing for Canada. It's exactly what we all need, which is why we need to change the cooking lesson here, which we're going to do later. But 1,500 people stood up and were arrested. And on Monday morning in Ottawa, there's going to be a similar action by Canadians doing civil disobedience in Ottawa, offering themselves up for arrest to stand behind the same demand for action on climate change, action to stop the tar sands.
While 85% or more of Canadians believe that climate action is imperative and important and they want their governments to get on with it, there is a small but important and well-financed climate denier group here working with big oil companies, mostly Alberta-based. And there was a scandal that is just beginning to be covered in the media. Have you heard of this group called Friends of Science?
Yep.
Well, it turns out they're friends of the Tories and enemies of science. And they have been receiving tax dollars in Canada, funneled through the University of Calgary to an interest group that intervened as a third party in the last federal election, backing Stephen Harper and attacking parties that wanted climate action. Now, that is a scandal that Denise and Randall and all of our colleagues are fighting for in Ottawa today to have answers to. How could that happen?
You know, it may seem like an insurmountable task to shift this government, but I just want to say very quickly in closing, just think, not so long ago, there were seemingly immovable forces in Arab countries, and think of the Arab Spring and how much has shifted in a few months. Think of just a few months ago, the last federal election in Quebec. There was a seemingly immovable force in the Bloc Québécois that has almost dissipated. So on climate change, we can work together. If we work together, we can move this government or push it out of the way. And that's what we need to do.
Yeah.